If you enjoy anime, be sure to come on down for 31 days of anime over on MysticSage. Also follow our TikToks for daily Pokemon and anime content. Links for all of those will be below. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Top 10 Weakest series. As we try to move on from the debacle that was the bug video, we shift gears to its natural predator, the flying type. There are a ton of flying type Pokemon out there, and quite a few that are bad, so I had plenty to choose from. It's ironic really, as while I'm going to of course redo the bug type list at a later date, there are actually quite a few bad bug types back on this list from that video. We've got a lot of returning Pokemon, but oddly enough, no Oricorio. It is actually one of the worst Pokemon of all its typing, except for the flying typing. It's honestly competent enough that it avoids this list, though don't get it twisted, it still isn't a good Pokemon. So with that out of the way, let's get right into this list. We're going to be starting off here at number 10 with Vespaquin, the first of a few returning bug types that will make their appearance on this list. I'll say this much, Vespaquin is very lucky that it has access to the heavy-duty boots in Sword and Shield, which saves it from taking massive damage from stealth rocks. If not for those, it would have definitely been in a worse spot on the list than this. Now, its stats, they paint a picture of defense. The base 102 in both is really solid, though base 70 HP isn't a great showing for bulk. Its speed isn't great either, which is unfortunate. However, with the ability Pressure and those defenses, it becomes a bit clear that Vespaquin is something of a stall Pokemon. It has Toxic, it has Pressure, it has Roost, and it can do a decent job at filling in that stall role. Now, beyond its ability to do those things, it has some attacking moves that it can turn to. A couple of attack stats at base 80 lend itself Air Slash, Acrobatics, and Attack Order, all being somewhat viable as offensive options. Though there isn't all that much coverage in this move pool. There's plenty of Stab for sure, but only poison moves really make an appearance after them, aside from the random fighting or rock move. That's sort of what left Vespaquin in a position to make this list. It's a really poor move pool. While it might look like the sort of Pokemon made just to stall, that isn't always going to work, and sometimes you'll want to run Defog and actual offensive moves alongside it, and there just aren't a lot of good options. You'll be stuck defogging and U-turning over and over again, and there are other Pokemon that can do that a lot better and faster. Vespaquin makes a lot of sense to open up this top 10, and it sort of sets the stage for the rest of this one. There aren't a lot of great attackers on this list. Alright, it's time for our first and actually only early game bird on this list. You guys know which one of those birds I really dislike. Unpheasant. Now, while under some circumstances, Noctowl can be a worse Pokemon, Unpheasant takes the cake as a horrible flying type in the overarching grand scheme of it all. Its attack stat is very competent at base 115, and its speed is alright being base 93. Honestly, its very solid attack stat is what has it at number 9 instead of way later on this list. Its abilities aren't anything to write home about. Big Pex isn't really the best thing in the world, Super Luck isn't so bad, and Rivalry, I guess, when taking all three under evaluation, that might be the most consistent ability? It's pretty often, you'll end up facing a Pokemon of the same gender, so you could get the boost more often than Super Luck crits. Though, the defense is awful, and it's saved by the typing having only 2 weaknesses, and a few immunities and resistances. If this were a different typing, even pure flying, it would be much worse. A deep dive into the move pool gives us a really lacking move pool that strides more on the special side. It's got Hurricane, Air Slash, and Heat Wave floating around, but merely Brave Bird as the only real stab physical move on this clear physical attacker. It has access to U-turn and Night Slash for some coverage, but that isn't much, and thus isn't very good. Its access to Defog saves it a little, so hazards beware. It can get rid of you. There just isn't much success to be found in the move pool of Unpheasant, but I suppose what it can do, like Brave Bird and Defog, work well enough with the speed and attack to keep it here at number 9, and not perhaps in a lower spot where it maybe belongs. Let's move on from that last entry to one that is a significant step down, Tropius. This thing's flying grass type is really not what you want. It's weak to some typings that boast strong moves, like Ice, Fire, and Flying. Now its defenses are what Tropius is known for, some decent bulk on it, but it really isn't that great. Its speed is harshly bad, its offenses are lackluster, and I'm not really a big fan of its abilities with the exception of Harvest. So with that ability, if nothing else, attempting to stall out opponents becomes a little more feasible. It can have a citrus berry and get a nice boost back to its health and then get the berry back. It's an idea, and one that can work. But really, it's not going to call all that well for our banana tree friend. The lack of good speed though, it hurts. Just like the stealth rock weakness it's got from the flying type. As for moves, its best bet is to run Substitute and Leech Seed and just do its best to tank hits and stall. It doesn't do that super well, but at least at a competent enough clip that it can see some usage against bad Pokemon. Its attack stats are poor like I mentioned, but access to Air Slash gives it at least something it can fight back with, so it isn't purely trying to stall, and that's all. However, I doubt you'll get much out of it when you try to attack. So that move is seriously a last resort. I guess there is access to Defog in Roost with this thing too, but your best bet for success is that Leech Seed Substitute combo and just trying to stall. Tropius might not be one of the worst grass types, but in the realm of flying types, I just had to call it out today. It's not great. It pains me to talk about it, but here at number 7, we have Butterfree, one of my favorite Pokemon. It's just not good enough to go unspoken about in this video. And when we redo the bug top 10, it'll be there for sure, as well as despite how much it pains me to do that. Butterfree got a lot of love in the new games with the Gigantamax form, but that sort of thing wasn't enough to spare it from being a bad Pokemon competitively. Its stats suck majorly, as it has 90 and 80 in both special stats, 70 speed, and horrid everything else. Its Tinted Lens ability doesn't save it as much as it does Venomoth, and Compound Eyes is really only helping what? Hurricane? Now, it does have access to heavy-duty boots, being in Sword and Shield, so that is something that helps it out big time, as defensively, it needs all it can get. Access to Quiver Dance is really nice, but the setup on Butterfree hardly makes it a contender for a good team. If you choose to run Sleep Powder, which is in fact helped by Compound Eyes, I suppose that move alongside Quiver Dance could pay dividends. Hurricane, Bug Buzz, and Psychic are all real threats on this thing, but really, Butterfree is at its best if made the setup early on. If you can't do that, or if you run into one of the many checks for Butterfree, it's just going to fall to the wayside like most of the Pokemon on this list. So, coming in just outside the top 5 is none other than Chatot. This thing is a lot like the next Pokemon we'll be talking about, except it's a bit faster. It sits at 92 special attack and 91 speed, with a bunch of awful stats trailing behind those. Chatot is an incredibly boring Pokemon, despite having an interesting premise when it first debuted in Diamond and Pearl. You were able to record audio for Chatot's chatter attack on your DS, but that was a mechanic long since forgotten and removed. Its abilities are nothing worth talking about really, and as I said, its bulk is non-existent, meaning taking hits is a no-go for this thing. It essentially needs to use Boom Burst to do any real damage, as the rest of its move pool is miles behind what I'd call useful with the exception of Heat Wave. However, while Boom Burst is very strong and will affect tons of Pokemon, it can't do a damn thing against ghost types. Like, at all. So if it is in a battle against one, it'll just need the turn and run. Chatot is right outside of the top 5 due to what it can accomplish with that Boom Burst against most other typings. But guys, it's really not good. It'll be decent for like a turn or two, and that's it.
One, two, three. My Farfetchd don't mess around because it's in the top 5 and it sucks for show. Hey ya. Hey ya. Hey ya. Hey ya.
Farfetchd. These days, the Cantonian Farfetchd is a bit overshadowed by the Galarian one, and its awesome evolution, Sirfetchd. But today, I wanted to spotlight the original, and how bad it is. Its only decent stat is its base 90 attack, and that is it. It doesn't have a single other stat go over 62, and that's the perfect makings of a garbage Pokemon, and the perfect opening to our top 5. Keen Eye and Inner Focus are its two main abilities, with Defiant as a hidden ability, and I'm not exactly a huge fan of any of those. Well, Defiant, I suppose, is definitely the best of the three, as there is potential for Farfetchd to see the stat decreases needed to get an attack boost. But it is really circumstantial, as Farfetchd isn't affected by something like Sticky Webs since it's a flying type. Though anything really could happen when it comes to stat drops when on the field of battle, so I guess it is the most beneficial ability of the group. The biggest problem on Farfetchd is definitely its defenses and speed. But you know what? It's actually got a very varied move pool. For one, it can use Swords Dance, which is cool. I mean, it will never be able to successfully set up due to the issues I just mentioned, but it's there. It's got tons of coverage, from Leaf Blade to Acrobatics to Close Combat and Poison Jab. Yeah, this thing has one great move pool alright, but without the needed stats to back up its good attack, what's the point of it? Farfetchd is our token waste of potential Pokemon for this list, as it has the makings, at first glance, of being a Pokemon that could really succeed. But without the stats to hold up its attack, it just collapses under the weight of expectations it could never meet to be useful. Oh well, it's a shame, but what can you do? I guess we'll just dance the issues away. I can't hide it any longer. There's a bunch of Gen 2 Pokemon we need to talk about, even if I don't want to. You guys know I love Johto, but it had a real problem with producing bad flying type Pokemon. This entry is going to have to be Jumppuff, another flying grass type that really suffers badly in competitive. It can't avoid Stealth Rocks as it isn't in Sword and Shield, and while its defenses are its best stats, they hardly provide the bulk necessary to enable Jumppuff to do much more than use Sleep Powder and try to get around Pokemon using hacks. Its abilities aren't great, so they don't lend much to Jumppuff to make it a true threat in battle. You know what though? It does have access to Swords Dance and Strength Sap, which could do something when worked in tandem with Sleep Powder. Even though Jumppuff's attack is base 55, a single Swords Dance can go a long way towards powering it up. It's still going to hate taking ice moves though and dealing with those Stealth Rocks. While there is potential, there are far too many drawbacks. You don't want Jumppuff holding an item, so it won't be using leftovers, and probably wouldn't put the boots on if it were in Gen 8. Why is that? Because it desperately needs Acrobatics to be successful. There's Pokemon just as speedy at the bottom of the barrel that can do its job better, including other grass types. And while it's shameful that we're about to get a lot of Johto Pokemon, all this need to push through. So, kicking off our top 3, we have yet another flying bug type, Beautify. Beautify is really just horribly put together as a Pokemon. Its great special attack means nothing, being base 100, but on a Pokemon with such poor defenses and speed, its evolutionary partner Dustox is the better of the two despite not being as offensively gifted, and that really speaks volumes. The weaknesses that Beautify has to deal with is already well documented, and not being in Sword and Shield prevents it from getting access to the heavy-duty boots. So it doesn't have that caveat like Vespaquin and Butterfree do. Though at the end of the day, its poor stats are very detrimental, perhaps even more so than the fact that Stealth Rocks will crush its puny butterfly wings. Now, offensively, like I said, Beautify is a slightly decent Pokemon. It can use Quiver Dance, which, if you can possibly overcome your poor speed and defenses right off the bat, will make it a bit stronger. It can use Defog to remove hazards, though switching in on Stealth Rocks won't go over well for it. It's able to use Bug Buzz and I guess Air Cutter, though it's a shame it doesn't get Air Slash. All in all, boy, Beautifly really sucks. The only other Pokemon ahead of it are just much worse attackers. But even then, yeah, Beautifly ain't it, chief. Once again, making an appearance on these lists is the worst Ice-type Pokemon, Delibird. It not being the number 1 Pokemon just speaks to the pathetic nature of this top 5, I'd argue to say. I mean, much like last time, there is actually very little to say about it. Its best stat is 75 base speed. That's right, its best stat is 75 base speed. That is so pathetic. And its next stat being 65 special attack is quite telling. It's got tons of bad weaknesses with its typing, and its 3 abilities are very stupid. Its move pool boasts, Present. Oh, and Seed Bomb and Gunk Shot and Brave Bird too. You know, it's just too bad that its base attack is 55. I'm not talking about this anymore. It's awful. And the only present I can offer to it is a link to my TikTok, which is on screen now. Check it out. Finally, we are here at number 1, and it's going to be another bug flying type. It's pretty obvious what it would be, I think. And yeah, it is Ladian. Ladian is the worst of the group, falling under the dual typing, and being the worst flying type is hands down its destiny. Its stats are harsh, with the exception of its special defense. I mean, it is really bad, having only 110 special defense and 80 speed, and then not a single stat over 55. Its abilities, Swarm and Early Bird, are pretty bad, but the hidden ability Iron Fist at least offers something offensively that can probably be used to some sort of degree of success. I really doubt it though, because at the end of the day, 35 physical attack and 55 special attack don't exactly equate to any sort of power. When we look at the move pool on this thing, we see Bug Buzz and Air Slash, which are at least making use of its better attack stat. But those are really the only moves it has that are special. It has a ton of coverage, like the Elemental Punches, Drain Punch, and Knockoff, but even with Iron Fist, how strong can you really expect this 35 base attack Pokemon to be? I'll tell you, not very. It does have access to Defog, like many of the other Pokemon we've talked about already. But once again, this thing isn't in Sword and Shield, so it doesn't get the heavy-duty boots and will be destroyed by Stealth Rocks. It's not a good Pokemon by any stretch of the imagination. And really, when we redo that bug list, I'm sure it'll be taking a much worse position there than it originally did. And it enters the pantheon of number 1 Pokemon we've had in this series already. That is going to do it for another weakest top 10. There are some awful Pokemon, and I'm glad to be through with this one. Hopefully you guys can see where I was coming from with these entries and placements, but let me know if you feel there are some more flying types that could have taken a position or 2 here. Also make sure you let me know which typing you guys want to see next. I'm sure I know what it is, but let me know, and I'll be sure to rock out with whatever you pick. Hey, welcome to my new outro. A big thank you to everyone for watching the video. I want to give a huge thanks to my phenomenal team, and for the amazing art done each week by Danny the Demon. I couldn't do all this without them. If y'all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too, it really helps us out. I have a brand new TikTok for Mystic Umbreon, and I've got a goal to get the 10k followers over there. If we can hit that goal, I'm going to pick a random video suggested to me by you guys and do it. So go over there and leave a follow. Also over on MysticSage in the month of July, I'll be uploading 1 video a day. We've got content from My Hero to Demon Slayer to Black Clover. So come over to check it out. And also check out MysticSage on TikTok. Finally, I've got an Amazon store where we sell tons of Pokemon and anime products. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon, and I'll see you next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.